Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to our Wednesday morning class. And we want to welcome you that are joining us live on stream, and for you that will download this later, we want to welcome you to today's class. For you that are out of state, as we have California, Texas, West Virginia, Massachusetts, Ohio, and Florida, that is all listening and looking to our teachings here, we want to welcome you today. This is coming from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte, North Carolina this morning. This is actually our first lesson in heart math. And I wanted to give you a mission statement from heart math. How many here has heard of heart math before? A lot of the people that you like use heart math. Greg Braden is one. Dr. Can't think of his name right now. Joe Dispenza uses heart math. So Bruce Lipton uses heart math. So a lot of people are just using it and you don't know that that's what it is. So let's begin with the mission of expanding heart connections. The mission is our dedicated staff is committed to bringing and helping activate the heart of humanity. We suggest by creating an alignment and connection between our mind and heart, and with each other's hearts, we awaken the higher mental, emotional, and spiritual capacities that are dormant within us. Compassion, resonance, and transformation are the core values that underlie our business and our mission to collectively usher in an era of ever-expanding heart intelligence that ensures the world turns on a new heart-centered axis. The outcomes of this mission and the results that we're looking for is the ability to think clearly and find more efficient solutions. Maintain poise and composure during challenges. Improve family and social harmony. Reduce fatigue and exhaustion. Facilitates the body's natural regenerative processes. Improve coordination and reaction times in sports. I think life itself is a sport. The world is its arena. Improved meditation and focus. Improved ability to learn and achieve higher test scores. That's an interesting to me because I see the earth as God School 101. I think that every soul that has come to the earth has come here to learn. And I believe that we're kind of, let's put it this way, it's the metaphor of coming to the very end of the course. Now, I can only speak for me, but I was one of these kids in school that if the test was tomorrow, I'd be cramming for it the night before because I didn't do what probably the teacher said to do along a process. So I just do better under pressure. When I have to do something, I jump in and can do it. Up until then, I probably have one of those letter things of ADD or something like that. I don't know what I have, but it just doesn't work that way for me. So what I'm saying is I think that we're coming to the finals of God's School 101 Earth, third dimension. And I think that we're ready for passing the final test, which then what? Gives us and brings us to graduation time. Right? If you make the test, then you go to graduation. And what we're graduating to, of course, is to be citizens of a higher dimension of existence. I label it fifth dimension. Fifth dimension is kind of third dimensional term for something beyond itself, but it does give us an understanding that we've lived in 3D, now we're being moved into 5D. And a lot of you are initiates for 5D because of the fact that you have been in modalities of higher 4. Higher fourth dimension would be Reiki. What's some more? EFT, neurolinguistics, psyche. All of those are higher fourth dimension that took us out of lower fourth dimension that we were caught into. So once you've done that, then you're ready to move into fifth dimension. And of course, that's where Soma Energetics stands in that place to help people to bridge into the fifth dimension. So anyway, I thought that's interesting that it says improved ability to learn and achieve higher test scores. Access moment-to-moment intuition throughout the day. We must learn to live the spiritual-driven life versus living the human life. We're driven. Something is the driver is what I'm saying. Either spirit is driving your life, or the ego or the carnal part of the mind is driving your life. So to learn to be spiritual is certainly an art. All right, let's begin with the Heart Code. This comes from a book called The Heart Code, and it begins with the brain has a ready answer for what Albert Einstein considered to be the most important question of all. And here is the question. Is the universe a friendly or unfriendly place? Again, the brain. This is the question that Albert Einstein said he considered, I don't know if it is, but he considered it to be a very important question. Is the universe a friendly or unfriendly place? The brain is certain the universe is unfriendly and must be wrestled with in order to survive. Because of this deterministic orientation, the brain keeps telling us that we must be constantly ready to do our best against the cosmic odds stacked against us. Now just think about that for a moment. I mean, you pretty much in your human existence have to pretty much fight for what you get and what you keep. You know, you got to fight when you get here to have a good relationship with your family and friends. You got to fight the educational system. You got to deal with all these things that keeps you constantly in that place that this is not a friendly universe that I live in. That's what the brain says to you. It's unfriendly, and you got to be defensive, and you got to fight, and you got to work for it. And the brain also is built up on what is called competition. Competition is an evolutionary term that means that you're competing with everybody else, and most of all, competing with yourself. We can be our own worst enemy, or we can be our best friend, but most of the time we're our own worst enemy. I'm not enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. I'm whatever, and we kind of find ourselves competing to what is definition of pretty, or body size, or some of those things like that. We're constantly being sold this bill of goods that we're always in a lack, and we can only attain by struggling and being competitive for it. In the ultimate mental paradox, the brain often abuses and exploits its own heart to the point that it kills itself by trying so hard to save its life. In a form of cerebral coronary suicide pact in which the heart is an innocent bystander, the brain becomes its own executor. And this is why going through the dimension that we've all gone through of changing thoughts has been so important. Changing your mental thoughts have been very important. I don't think it is the complete goal to be able to learn to think, say, a positive thought over a negative thought. I think it's a wonderful thing to change a negative thought into a positive thought, but positive thoughts don't necessarily mean spiritual thoughts, because spiritual thoughts are transcendent of this or that. There is no positive or negative or this or that. It's a transcendent place. So when you get God thoughts, we could call them, they're very neutral. And those neutral thoughts then go through our process of bringing thoughts into something that we can comprehend by such things as perception, intention, and other things that how we process data or information. Greg Braden's Resilience from the Heart tells us from Leonardo da Vinci to this day, 500 years ago, which at the time of the writing was the late 90s, people thought the Western educated world believed that the brain is the conductor leading the symphony of functions that keeps us alive and well. That is what we've been taught. And again, I want to say that there's people who've done very well to be very positive people mentally. You know, you've been through a lot of New Thought, metaphysical classes, you've read good literature that gave you the benefits of being positive and that type of thing. And maybe you've even mastered that mental side of positivity. And yet at the same time, even though you have that, does not mean it's necessarily transformed itself into the life you live. Or rather, I should say, you become the life that it lives. Does that make sense to you? And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to bridge whatever it is from the point of all this great teaching and all of this wonderful knowledge and information that we all have. How do we get it into becoming the life that we live? And the brain is going to give you the trying. Try to be positive. Try to look up and not look down. All of that kind of thing is, the brain says, try. The heart doesn't try. The heart is that the brain tries to do. But the thing about the brain, it'll always return back to its premise of being separate from the heart until this connection is made that we're attempting to do here. According to the anatomy of the brain on the site for the Mayfield Clinic, it beautifully illustrates this perspective. It states, this mysterious 3-pound organ, the brain, controls all necessary functions of the body, receives and interprets information from the outside world, and embodies the essence of the mind and soul. Intelligence, creativity, emotion, and memories are a few of the many things governed by the brain. So this is the basis in which most teachings are built upon about the brain. They've accepted the brain as the conductor and that which leads our bodies and our outer lives. The belief that the brain is in control, center of the body, the emotions and memories, has been so universally accepted and so deeply ingrained in our psyches that it's been taken for granted almost without question until now. Until now. So a lot of things we've just accepted to be, that's the way it is. And I love this one. And I know the brain, the ego, loves this saying, I'm only human. What a great excuse. I'm just only human. Not true. We are not only human. We are divine beings in a human experience. So we have to learn that the human heart is more than just a pump that pumps blood. And I want to go through these again. The adult heart beats an average of 100,000 times a day. Now, if that doesn't make you once in a while just stop and thank your heart for what it does for you to keep you alive. 1,100 times a day, circulating 1,900 gallons of blood through, get this, 60,000 miles of arteries, blood vessels, and capillaries. Pretty amazing, isn't it? That that's going on in your body right now as you are sitting here. Now, if we go back to 1932, scientific investigation of the role of the heart in the body opened the door to a possibility and controversy that continues to unfold until this day in which we are doing this class. In early study, Harvard University scientist J. Brimmer filmed the movement of blood flowing through the body of a chicken early in its development. So early, in fact, that the chick's heart had not yet been started functioning. Now that's powerful. This is 1932. And what this scientist found out that something was happening. There was a life force before the heart was even formed in the baby chicken. So there is an intelligence that comes into the heart and incarnates itself in the heart. The brain being the result of evolution. The brain is not a created thing. It's a formed thing. This 3-pound thing in your head is a formed thing, but it's not a created thing. The heart holds the creation pattern of itself. And while the brain remains in control of the heart takes the creative pattern of the heart and reforms it and rearranges it based upon what is downloaded outside of the brain, like belief systems. So let's say you're in a certain religion as a kid and you learn. Maybe the doctrine of Catholicism or the doctrine of Baptist or Methodist or whatever you learned. That was the brain taking the perfect code of creation and changing it in the brain to something lesser than it is. So the brain basically ends up in a state of, I'm not enough, I'm in lack, I need to get it. Which puts us on this forever path of quest of trying to find what we don't have because we want to get it. I want you to get that. So this is what the brain does. The brain says you don't have it because all of the belief systems we've downloaded tells us we're less than creation. We're less than whole. And we buy into beliefs of things that we think we're not and don't have and we need to be and get, or the belief in lack. And then we look for everybody else that has the answer for us. And we think, okay, this group's got the answer, so I'll join them. Or this book must be the answer. Or this workshop must be the one. And what do you find yourself doing? Going to a different workshop, another workshop, reading another book, a different book, going into another group or a different class or something like that, because you're looking for something outside of yourself to fulfill what the brain is lacking. And what it is lacking is the message of the heart. The message of the heart is, I am. The brain is, I could be. I could be. If I work hard enough, if I meditate more, if I pray longer prayers, if I live a better moral life, all those kind of do's and not and don't do's that we think that's going to reward us, this atonement and oneness. But the heart says, wait a minute. The message of the heart is you are not in lack. Creation is successful. It was totally successful in itself. It's done. You can't add or take away from what and who you were created to be. With me? Created to be. And the heart says, no, it's already been done. I'm going to teach you how to allow it to show up and manifest in your brain. Now, for some of you sitting here, I'm kind of preaching to the choir a little bit. Some of you have already found degrees of this and understand that even though your brain can scream out, you need, while the heart is saying you had no need for anything, which is a line from A Course in Miracles. There's a whole chapter, a whole area that is given to that as an affirmation. For I have a need of nothing. Is it nothing or anything? I have no need of anything, whichever one. Over and over. Because in spirit and in reality and truth of who you are, you have no need for anything. The greatest need you have is to get to a place that you know you don't need a need. I tell everybody the true path to be on is the path to no path. There really isn't a path to enlightenment. There's an undoing to enlightenment. But there's no doing to enlightenment. Don't think it's going to show up as some reward for all your good works. So the way to enlightenment is the undoing of old beliefs that you have validated that makes you less than who you were created to be. So this was an interesting thing that he found, that the chick's blood was moving through the body on its own before the physical heart. The heart is mentioned 878 times in the modern Bible. 878 times. For example, the heart appears in the 59 out of the 66 books of the Bible. Everybody thinks the Bible is a book. No, it's 66 books. They're called chapters, but there's 60, they're not chapters, but they're like the book of John, the book of Mark. They're all books that were separate, compiled, and put together. And this is saying that out of 59 of those, out of 66 of those books mentions the heart. The Old Testament describes the heart as a vast source of wisdom that requires a cultivated understanding to make sense. And I really like this quote. I did it on that Sunday, but I want to give it to you again. From E.O. Wilson, 1929, American biologist, because I think it so fits. We are drowning in information while starving for wisdom. The world henceforth will run by synthesizers. What are synthesizers? People able to put together the right information at the right time, think critically about it, and make important choices wisely. I agree. But the brain will not manifest your truth by itself, no more than a man can produce a baby by its own sperm by itself. And you got to understand the word sperma is a Greek term for seed. And seed carries DNA. So you're carrying two DNAs. Your brain works with the DNA of your ancestry, which is less than perfect. Yeah, you got some good things, and you got some not so good things. Yeah, you got some of the good looks, some you didn't. We didn't all get the best of the looks. So the brain works with listening to an inferior DNA. That's only the evolution. But the heart reads God seed. God's sperma enters into the heart. And there the seed that holds God's DNA. So you're either going to build by the human ancestral DNA that the brain works with, or you're going to build based upon God's DNA in the heart. But the thing is, she can't do it until he gives her the spark. And they have to work together, just as a man and a woman, male and female, have to work together to produce a child. So this is not a heart over the brain. This is helping the brain to be a better player and be a better husband, a better male figure by working with the female. The scripture tells us that wisdom shall build the house. Think about that. Wisdom shall build the house. Wisdom is Sophia in the Greek, which is what?
Wisdom.
The heart. The wisdom of the heart is the feminine. But she needs something from him. And if he gives her what she needs, that is conception takes place between the heart and the brain. And what does it conceive? A spiritual life to live. A spiritual life to live. Without the two working together, you live in an and/or. Because some of you have some really better times. It's more spiritual, things are going better, whatever, and then the next day or the next week it can all crumble, and the next thing you know, you have fallen again into the lower aspects of human nature. Anxiety, fear, depression, all those kind of things. Doubt is always there. But we want them to work together in that at-one-ment with each other. Everybody understand? Now, what that means is that in the great plan, the Creator has put an aspect of itself in the brain. That means the brain, and here's what we know, the brain now has a heart in the brain. Then we have found out that the heart has a brain. You get that? The brain has within it the pulse of a heart. The heart has the frequency of the brain. Each one has each other in it. Just as we'd say that men have the feminine and the male, and the woman has the male and the feminine. None of us can be just all one or the other. We're all at some level rather androgynous. I don't mean from lower chakras of sexuality, but altogether spiritually, we've been made a complete whole androgynous creation, being balanced with male and female. Heart and mind. Please understand that, and I even find in these writings how people do not distinguish between the mind and the brain. We just assume that the mind is always the brain. That is not true. The mind is much larger than the brain. Let me move on. In the book of Proverbs, I like this. It says, counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but mankind But man of understanding will draw it out. So if you have an understanding through these classes, you're going to learn how to draw out wisdom into your knowledge and knowledge into your wisdom. And let them produce beautiful babies for you. Let them conceive and bring forth the issues of the heart, which is life, joy, peace, all of the higher attributes of the divine is held in the heart. The same sentiment is expressed in the wisdom of the North American Omaha people, who invite us to, and I quote, ask questions from your heart and you will receive answers from your heart. The Lotus Sutra of the Mahayana Buddhist tradition teaches us the hidden treasure of the heart. Hidden treasure of the heart. It's described in the commentary as being as vast as the universe itself, which dispels any feelings of powerlessness. The Little Brain in the Heart in 1991, a scientific discovery published in peer-reviewed journal, put to rest any lingering doubt regarding the heart's multifaceted role in the body, and came up with what today is called neurocardiology. Neurocardiology. That's a great marriage there between neurology and cardiology, or the nervous system and the heart. It's all about intimate relationships between the hearts and the brains. The discovery described this powerful relationship. It has been unrecognized in the past. One of the great discoveries was led by Dr. J. Andrew Amour of the University of Montreal, who discovered that about 40,000 spatialized neurons called sensory neurites form a communication network within the heart itself. Again, proving that the same neurons that make up the brain is in the heart. Same ones. So that's not New Age hearsay. That is pretty scientifically proved. Our technique for this class today will be heart-focused breathing. Heart-focused breathing. It's a powerful and effective tool for self-regulation. It is the first step in shifting to a more coherent state. It can help you maintain your composure in challenging situations, calms stress reactions, and takes out some of the significance and drama in the moment. Saves energy. You can be alert and calm at the same time. Now, these are important attributes here, especially how you can maintain your composure in challenging situations. You don't have to lose your true self in situations that are challenging to you. You can learn to stay centered in who you are and still go through any challenge and not be knocked out consciously. If you allow yourself to be knocked out consciously by a situation, then you will go into fight and flight reactive mode. That's when you say things you wish you hadn't. You do things you wish you had not done. You make decisions you wish you had not made, and learn when you look back on that, oh man, I wish I would have said that differently. I wish I'd have done that differently. I wish I would have really contemplated that decision a little deeper than I did. And how much of our life is the result of that? In that way, we're our worst enemy if we identify our identity with our brain. The brain is always short of God's glory. Always short of God's glory. And these are called something called blind spots in consciousness. I did a talk years ago at the University of Metaphysics on this subject of blind spots in consciousness. Did you know that through your physical eyes, which the brain sees, not your eyes, it's a tool for the brain to bring in certain data that you think you see things out there, but actually you're seeing things out there in here. There's really not much out there than what we project out there from in here. So anyway, that's another thing. But what was I saying for that? Something. So, tell me again. I'm going to. Okay, so the brain, the way the brain sees is always just differently than the way that the heart is going to see. So if you're knocked out conscious of these blind spots in consciousness, I want you to get this. Write it down if you're writing notes. That where there are blind spots in consciousness, ego fills in with illusion. Again, when we enter into a blind spot in consciousness, meaning when we're knocked out consciously by some emotion or circumstance in our life, and we go into the reactive mode. See, reactive mode. What's the opposite of the reactive mode? Proactive. You're either being reactive, which is mostly coming from your reptilian part of your brain, RX factor, in which you're just reacting for survival. So that means I meet you, you're going to do me wrong, or you're going to do me right, you're going to kill me, or you're going to help me, or you're going to mate with me, or you're going to do something. All those three things are survival. When we go into that mode and we're knocked out consciously, there's nothing to do in that space but go into reactionary survival mode. And that's when you'll say and do anything to survive, whether it's right or wrong. You will do it if you think it's going to help you to survive a situation. Now, again, the brain is seeing through the mechanism of these eyes only 50% of what is outside of me. It's interesting. We found out now that you're only about 50% of your mother and father's DNA. We thought you were 100%. You're not. You only are 50% of both your mother and father's DNA. And what that means is your mother and father's ancestral DNA does not have to totally control your entire life. You can make other choices that changes the path of your ancestral DNA. For instance, I have this because my grandmother had it, my mother had it, and my sister has it, and I've got it, or they that, and I'm going to get it. Everybody in my family, in my case, died of cancer before they were 50 years old, so I assume I'm going to get it, and I did. Overcame it, but I got it. The rest of the 50% of the DNA you did not get is now called epigenetics. Epi means that your DNA responds to the choices of how you have relationship with your environment. What is affecting you there? The choices you make in your diet, whether you like to hear it or not. Moods, depression, all of these kind of things are totally affecting the rest of your DNA by the choices you make, not the choices of your ancestry. And the beauty of that that's so powerful, and I have to give you a scripture because I love this scripture in Psalm 78. And imagine David the visionary who saw beyond Yahweh and saw beyond the Father of Jesus, Elyon. He had a vision of a better day, a better age. And he says, I see a generation to come that will not walk as their forefathers. It's so powerful. I see a generation. Whew, I always feel chills on that one. I got a gene, a God gene, a God DNA, a God seed, a God sperma, Logos, Word made flesh. Either your ancestral is building your cells to make your body what it is, or either God's DNA is going to rebuild your body to make you a body in its likeness and image. And you think this is not important, but it is to this heart thing, because the heart holds the code of a new DNA that can begin to work. But the seed has got to fall into some good ground. Are you good ground? What does good ground mean? It means open consciousness. It means a people that is willingness and open to receive what it's going to take to go through the chaos of the breakdown of old patterns, so that in the chaos can be reorganized into new patterns. That's where we need each other. That's why we need a community. Because when we start going through this individual thing of the breakdown of the old and our life goes into chaos, you better have some like-minded people around you that'll give you some strength, and some people that you can talk to, and some people that you can be with that understands without judgment what you're going through. There is the heart of community. And that's why when we start our community up in July, it's going to be in July now, we had to push it down, with Michael Brown and them and all of us, that we want to reach a new level of intimacy in this community. We think we know each other. We think, the brain says, I know you. I've known you for so many years. You know, we base it on time and space and this and that. That's the illusion. Do you really know me? And you're not going to know me unless you let me tell you more of my deeper story about who I am and how I've experienced myself. And I have to be able to do it and not be afraid of you, that you're going to judge me. Or in my case, that I'm going to do anything with the image of being the spiritual leader at HeartLight. I don't want to be held. I'm not being the leader of HeartLight 24 hours a day. I'm being David some of that time. And once in a while, you might meet up with David. That's Barbara. She's in the house working a lot, so she gets to see David.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
And sometimes you come and you meet David, the higher David. Oh, wow. So I hope you get that. I think that's so important that you realize. All right, let's do our heart-focused breathing. We're going to do this, and then we're going to open it up, and I'm going to ask, what changes for you after you do this heart-focused breathing? Feet flat on the floor. And experience the space in which you are occupying at this moment. Feel the limitation of the chair that you sit in, the arms, the back, the seat that holds and supports you, and your feet touching the ground, the earth. And now I want you to focus your attention on the area of your heart. And I think what I'd like for you to do, take your two fingers and place it where your heart is. And draw your attention to where your finger is. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. So your fingers should be moving up. The chest is moving up when you breathe in, not the stomach, the heart. And exhale and release the chest. You're breathing from your heart. Breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Again, focus your attention in the area of the heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart. Your breath should rise. Take a deep breath. And breathe out. Relax the chest and the heart area. Again, focus your attention in the area of your heart. Breathe in from your heart, chest area. Breathing it up, bring that chest up. And exhale, relaxing the heart. And if you'd like, you can take your finger down and just keep that focus in your heart. But if that helps you, hold on to it. And even once again, focus your attention on the area of your heart. Breathe and allow it to flow in and out of your chest and heart area. Breathing a little slower and deeper. And now I'm going to let you do that on your own without me directing. You're going to focus your attention, breathe and flow in and out of your chest, slower and deeper than usual. exhale, you can return back. So could I get some of you to share with me the experience of that heart-focused? Again, all of these that we're going to do, all of these have a different breathing, have all been tested by HeartMath. HeartMath is a scientific research center based upon these kind of things that are more, I guess, paranormal or beyond the average aspect of everyday reactionary living.
The words that come to mind to me are still, quiet, peaceful.
Quiet, peaceful, she says. That's what came to her. Okay, somebody else? Rhonda?
Well, I've spent so much time learning to breathe diaphragmatically that I had to really work on breathing the heart rates. And when I did, I felt kind of a rush in between this. It was a little bit hot.
That's great. Now that's heart,
And a
mind,
little
the
scary.
brain connection
It was just a little scary too.
to the brain.
Probably so.
Brain don't like this. The ego don't like this stuff. Yeah, it wants to keep all that heart wisdom down there, away from here, so knowledge can rule and reign without its wisdom of becoming itself. Anybody else? Yes.
I felt a little bloom of love.
Of course, of course. Heart, love, being released. It's like a higher aphrodisiac. Yes.
Peace, love, more relaxed.
Good. These are all attributes of the heart. The brain can have the thought of peace and calmness and all that, but it can't be the peace and that it is until the heart. The thought is given into the heart for a feeling. The language of the heart is a feeling. It's not a word or language of the brain. The brain has to put it into a language, an earthly language, into words that can be spoken outside of itself. The heart is the releasing, and that's the heat that you felt. Is you felt that rush of what's been pinned down for a long, long time being released and coming up into the head. Maybe it's the heat of passion. How about that? The heat of passion between the heart and the mind. Anybody else?
Calmness.
Calm? You felt calm? Okay.
Appreciation.
Debbie?
My heart was saying, oh, thank you. Appreciate, yeah.
I love that. Appreciation. Debbie says appreciation. Yes, there's so much of us that would appreciate us releasing it and let it be activated in us so that it may become us. Not stay in us, but become us. The brain, the world of the brain, sees that things in life are done to you, while the heart says the challenges have been done for you. So why has this been done to me? I'm a good person. I meditate. I try to live a pretty good, decent life. And how could this happen to me? The brain says. And the brain says it's happening to you as an opportunity of growth, deeper understanding and learning about your life. Anybody else? I'm going to give Kathy?
I felt very loved.
That you felt loved
felt
rather than
loved.
love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way I can explain it.
Oh, that's good. Well, how the divine creator, God, whatever you want to call it, loves us has to be through the heart.
Yeah.
Has to be through the heart. Because the heart is the only thing that can manifest love itself, whereas the brain can manifest a thought about love, a mental construct of love. But the heart makes it a feeling that is so divine in some way. Anybody else? We'll give everybody a chance. And to you that are joined with us today, I hope that you've gone through the exercise with us and that you might let us know what you felt. You can do it through text or however you want to do it to contact us here at HeartLight Spiritual Center. But let us know if you'd like to share your feeling. And it is the feeling that you had that's important, not the thought. And that's what I was getting from you. You felt calm, you felt love, you felt this. I don't think it just ended up as some thought in your head. And yes, you're right. And there are times that we want to breathe from here and the belly comes out. But if you don't get the heart into it between here and the brain, the gut is bypassing the heart and goes directly to the brain and deposits itself into the brain without her. Without her. Matthew 24:43 says, "Be sure of this. If the owner of the house had known when the night the thief would be coming, he would stayed awake and not allowed his house to be broken into." So let's look at this. If the owner of the house, you are the house. This is Bible definition. It says that we are the house. Paul says we're the house, the tabernacle, not the temple. Your physical body is not your temple. The spiritual body is your temple. Because the natural man cannot receive the things of the spirit. So when it says the body is the temple, it has to be speaking of your spiritual body. Because the natural does not. So your natural body, your outer body, is your house that you live in. And you move from house to house. If you lose this house, you go get another house. And that's why the Apostle Paul, it's written, said, my house groans to be clothed upon. Isn't that great? My house groans to be clothed upon. So the house is the housing of your consciousness. If in that house it is the ego that is ruling as the God of your world, it is on guard to keep alive its own perceptions and beliefs. That makes sense to you? So when the heart is released, or the spirit of the heart is released, if the brain is in a defensive mode, it will shut down the heart and say, we don't believe that. Because the wisdom of the heart may be different than what your head believes. And if the ego is going to guard that belief to hold on to it, it's going to be ready in a defense mechanism to stop the heart, the wisdom of the heart, from getting to correct what's in the belief of the brain. And that's the block that is there. So this is what it is saying. If the owner in the house, ego, your house, had known that during the night the thief would be there. And the thief here is the good thief. It's not the bad thief, it's the good one. It's the spiritual one. That's why it says when Christ comes, or Jesus comes and all that, it says, "It shall come as a thief in the night." And I thought, oh, I don't know about that. Why does God have to be the thief in this story? But I got it. I got it. That there's got to be a rerouting of the heart to the brain past the ego's defense mechanisms and perceptions that guard the house. Let me tell you something. I'll give you a good example. How many of you got friends and people, family and whatever, and you mention something we believe here and they are absolutely like, what? How could you believe such a thing as that? Trust me, people's beliefs are so powerful in them that when they see it coming, spiritual truth, they shut down to it. So this says that spirit or wisdom has to come like a thief around the defense mechanisms to get to the brain. And that's where meditation, contemplation, silence, and all these exercises are so good, because that reroutes a channel from the heart back into the brain by not going through the defense mechanisms of the brain. And that's why you should be experiencing at this point more and more aha moments and more of epiphanies. An epiphany is when the seed of wisdom, because remember, she also has her side of testosterone. Just as all women have some testosterone and all men have estrogen. So that's the little brain in the heart. So the fact that it reroutes itself, and I think I showed you all a picture about my quadruple bypass and how that my heart, to keep me surviving, created a new artery past those 90% blocked arteries to keep me alive during that whole time that I didn't know I had 80-90% blocked arteries. Now that's grace. It's saying, I'm going to keep you alive until you learn what's going on. And this is what's happening. The heart is building a new channel, a new portal. It's rerouting its wisdom to not have to go through and ask him, okay, can we believe this? And he says, no, because I'm your head. I'm the man of this house. You're the wife. You should learn. You should learn in silence and ask me. It's what it says. Go ask the man. The woman should not. It says, if you want to learn something, go ask your husband. And the husband is the brain. And she is the wisdom. So she comes up as this little lady that's been put in subjection to the man and religion and whatever, and says, oh, I have some wisdom for you, but we don't believe that. And I'm your head. So she says, I'll tell you what, I'll build a new spiritual channel.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe that is Christ consciousness. And I'm going to come through a different way, and I'm going to bypass all your BS bull. Now, wait, BS, belief system. I know where you all went. No, the BS system is the belief system, which is BS. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to enter into wisdom, into the knowledge. And oftentimes the wisdom will correct the knowledge. Then comes back out and changes the belief system. Exactly. So the exercise that we have done today is something you can absolutely do anywhere. It's a short one. I mean, I had you do it over and over several times because I want you to get it enough to practice it. But this is something you can do before this day is over. If you go to a grocery store, if you go to a bank, wherever you go where there can be aggravation and where the challenge is seen from the brain, will happen. It'll knock you out consciously, and then you know you're reacting even in your head and you're saying things you wish you weren't thinking. Racial tones can come out of that. And it's always about them in the brain. It's not us as the heart, but the brain is about them and you. Look how they are. So if you get knocked out consciously, the brain will fill it in with a bunch of illusion. So let us pray. Affirm. That's what we're going to do. Our prayers are affirmation here. Affirming that today's class and these words that have been spoken will not fall upon hardened earth ground, but tilled ground, prepared to receive the seed and DNA of God into the human experience. We are the garden. We are the garden that God walks within the cool of the evening, of the day, planting its seeds to bring forth after its own kind. We have brought forth the seed of religion. We have brought forth the seed of culture. We have brought the seed forth of race. We have brought forth the seed of everything that makes us a human being without our divinity. But today, God's seed has fell into good ground, good consciousness. We've opened our heart to receive. Whatever we receive and conceive, we achieve. I said, what you've received today and conceive it, you will achieve it. But don't be praying for tomato seeds to be your lettuce. Your prayers won't get answered because you're out of divine mind and divine law. Divine law says that every seed shall bring forth after its kind. Today we receive the seed of God into our humanity. And now we're going to water it. And God shall give the increase and produce it effortlessly into my life. I will not have to learn it. I will not have to act it out, for God is not mocked. It says, God is not mocked. You don't have to mock love. All you have to do is be love. And the only way you're going to be love is when love becomes you. Whatever becomes you, you become it. You can't become God, but God can become you, and then you become God. Wow. Feel the presence. Feel the, and I just heard in my spirit, and this is a scripture that says, for the angels shall look into this. You realize angels don't know everything either. There's ranks of angels that want to grow. There's the fairies, the earth angels over water and earth, and then there's the tens of thousands of angels, and then there's archangels and there's seraphims. They're all learning to grow and to mature. And when this stuff starts coming out of the heart, they go to those classes because they want to learn, for angels desire to look into this. The angels are the messengers of your heart. They are the thoughts of your heart. That's your angels. Angel means message, thought. Practice this, please, this week. And then we'll come back next week and we'll begin with asking a few of you again to share a little bit about that. Next week will be on resilience and what does energy management have to do with it, the capacity to recover from stress. We're going to learn coherence breathing this time, which builds coherence and composure, regulates energy expenditure, and releases resiliency capacity. So today, remember, heart-focused breathing, and then we'll go to another breathing exercise each week that you'll be able to add on. And all of these breathing things are not something you have to go to. You don't have to go to a group to meditate. That's fine in meditation. But these are things that every day you can use for yourself wherever you are. The thing is to remind yourself enough to remember to do it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. What a good, nice group today. And we thank you so much for your support to allow this to continue on Wednesdays. And for you that are joining us, if you're still there, we appreciate your support also. You can do that through the website, on credit card, PayPal, or you can send it to 7300 Mallard Creek Road, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28262. Thank you so much. Sunday morning, remember our class. Thank you so much. You've been great to speak to today.